Okay, we're just about ready to get started. I'm going to hit the record button, and Maricarmen, you can go ahead and take it away.
Great. Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It takes so much commitment to be on a Zoom video call on a Friday right before lunch, so kudos to each of you. My name is Maricarmen Garza. I'm the Chief of Programs for the Tahirih Justice Center, a national organization with offices in Falls Church, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland, San Francisco, California, Atlanta, Georgia, and Houston, Texas. The Tahirih Justice Center is a national organization that provides a broad range of legal and social services, policy advocacy, and training and education to protect immigrant women and girls fleeing gender-based violence. Prior to joining Tahirih, I worked at Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid for 21 years, representing survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking in contested family law matters. Although I'm joining you this morning from Houston, Texas, I attended undergrad and law school in San Antonio, and I learned to practice law in the Bexar County courts. So I feel very much at home. It is my sincere honor to share this virtual space with you to close the third annual Domestic Violence Awareness Symposium during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Before I start my remarks, I want to thank the Collaborative Commission on Domestic Violence and congratulate them on their third successful symposium. I want to thank the individuals responsible for coordinating this event, which is no small feat, and I want to thank University Health Systems for their investment in this community and for making this symposium possible. I will focus my remarks on two main topics. One, passing the torch to inspire the next generation of anti-domestic violence warriors, and two, on the fact that domestic violence is preventable and that it is important to center our prevention work in the experiences and voices of survivors. Although I was not able to join you for the entire symposium, I was able to peek here and there, and I was incredibly excited to catch the entire welcome and keynote speech of Robin Peters Bennett on Facebook. For those of you who joined the symposium since the start, you will remember that Patricia Castillo, the executive director of the Peace Initiative, introduced Ms. Peters Bennett. In her introduction, Patricia mentioned the 1,500-person survey conducted by Lily Casura that identified that in San Antonio, we are dealing with 4 generations of victims and survivors of domestic violence. And she expressed the grave concern of how we're passing domestic violence down to the next generation. As I heard Patricia speak yesterday, I also started thinking about how we sometimes pass the torch in other contexts, especially in the domestic violence movement. During the past day and a half, you have learned from top academics, advocates, lawyers, judges, psychologists, social workers, doctors, and researchers, many of whom, like Patricia, have dedicated their life's work to addressing the impact of domestic violence in our communities. They spoke with passion, with energy, and with resolve. I want us to focus on this group of individuals and how they and how we, yes, you and me, can pass this commitment and resolve to end domestic violence to the next generation. When Patricia was being introduced, you learned that she has been doing this work for 35 years. Well, 27 years ago, I heard Patricia speak at my law school in San Antonio, Texas. It was the first time that I heard someone speak with so much energy and passion about an issue that others only spoke in hushed terms or very indirectly. She spoke like me. I identified with her. She was like mi gente, and she planted a seed. I have been working towards ending domestic violence since that day that I heard Patricia speak. She may not know that, but I think I've told her a couple of times. For me, that fire that was lit 27 years ago is rekindled in conferences and symposiums like this one. It is rekindled when I hear of communities trying innovative ideas and approaches to end domestic violence. When I see colleagues pursuing justice for survivors or presiding over difficult cases, and when I hear victims find their voice. Know that you are inspiring the next generation of warriors, whether you present it in the symposium or you're out there in the field doing this work. Let's continue to pass this torch forward. I would be remiss if I didn't say a brief note about self-care. This work is hard. For you to stay in this work, for you to keep this fire alive, whether it's 35 years, 27 years, 10, 5 years, it is important to find what sustains your fire and what gives you the rest that you need to keep doing this work. It is called self-care. Find what that is for you, and I encourage you to encourage others and model it to those that you work with and for those that you supervise. Now, let's turn to prevention. Over the course of the 20 plus years that I have worked as a lawyer in the anti-domestic violence movement, I have learned a few things from working directly with survivors, from reading academic papers, and attending conferences like this one. One of those things is that domestic violence is preventable. Yes, domestic violence is 100% preventable. In all the cases that I have worked on, if we do a case history, there will often be some points in the survivor's timeline where an effective prevention intervention with the survivor or with the abuser could have prevented or reduced the likelihood of domestic violence. The CDC states that domestic violence is preventable and lists at least 6 prevention strategies on their website. 1, teaching safe and healthy relationship skills. 2, engaging influential adults and peers by including men and boys as allies, empowering and educating bystanders, and creating family-based programs. 3, disrupting the developmental pathways toward partner violence. 4, creating protective environments. 5, strengthening economic supports for families through household financial security and work family supports. And 6, supporting survivors to increase safety and lessen harm through victim-centered services, housing programs, and civil legal protections. The Collaborative Commission on Domestic Violence recognizes that domestic violence is a preventable public health issue, and it's treating it as such, not with quick fixes, but with changes to systems and communities that are rooted in evidence. We must continue to look for, educate on, and fund community prevention efforts like those sought by the Collaborative. If we can prevent domestic violence in our communities, that means that we can end it. Sadly, for many of us, lawyers like myself, advocates, judges, when we encounter a family, they have already been impacted by domestic violence, and we often stop thinking of our work in terms of prevention. In fact, this is a true story for me. Several years ago, I was telling some of my advocate friends that I did not do prevention work because I was a lawyer, and that by the time the cases got to me, that the violence had already occurred. I was obviously very wrong, and I'm glad that my friends were kind enough to correct me. And I invite you to also reframe your thinking if you are like me or were like me. They helped me identify how my advocacy to obtain protective orders, my requesting child support and spousal maintenance, petitioning for orders to vacate a home, requesting supervised visitation, and the many other requests that I was making to the courts were keeping my client and the children safe. And that this too is prevention work. When I started to refocus the relief that I was seeking with an eye towards preventing future violence in the family, the outcomes started to shift too. I also started asking my clients more questions about what they would need to stay safe. And sometimes this went beyond civil legal needs. I had to trust the expertise of my clients to help craft solutions that were tailored to their lives and their experiences. The approaches became much more holistic. We started working more with social services providers to address the areas of my client's life that had risk factors for domestic violence, like economic issues, housing issues, health issues, food security, education, and psychological needs. Because each survivor comes to us with a very different life experience, it is extremely important that we center the survivor's voice in our approaches. It is through prevention work that I am hopeful that we will end domestic violence. Perhaps not in my lifetime, but in my children's lifetime or my grandchildren's lifetime. Thank you for your continued commitment to this work. Together, we will help end domestic violence. Adelante.
Maricarmen, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. In the past couple of days, I'm Maria Villagomez, Deputy City Manager for the City of San Antonio, and also one of the co-chairs for the collaborative. It's been just a tremendous couple of days, learning so much about the different aspects that relate to domestic violence. And as Maricarmen was saying, one of the things that I had prepared to talk about briefly is prevention. And in my role as a deputy city manager who oversees public safety, the police department in particular, I feel a lot of our work is reactive. By the time we get that phone call, quote unquote, it's too late. Something has already happened. However, as Maricarmen mentioned, prevention is on everything that we do, from helping perhaps other family members that we are interacting with as part of that 911 call that we're responding to. As I was listening to the other sessions, also looking for those signs. For instance, our fire department, as they respond to medical calls, they can see certain signs that may indicate that there may be a domestic violence case happening, that they can relate that to our Metro Health Department so we can provide some interventions. So I agree that everything we do, this symposium is part of that prevention. And the other thing that it was very interesting for me to hear as we are trying to end domestic violence is focusing on children and youth to try as much as we can to eliminate this vicious circle and cycle of domestic violence. So I'm very motivated by this day and a half with all the sessions that I heard. I thank you all for your participation, and I know that we'll continue to work together and make progress on this very complex and difficult issue that is domestic violence. I also want to mention that for all of you that participated in this symposium, we're going to be sending you an email with all the presentations, as well as the links to the recordings. So if you were not able to join us for all the sessions, that you have an opportunity to listen to them. And also if there was something that caught your attention and you want to listen to that again, you'll have those materials available to you. And we also invite you to help us to bring awareness to domestic violence. As you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month throughout the entire United States. So please help us to continue to bring awareness. We invite you to participate in the Purple Porch campaign by lighting or decorating your building or your home in purple to show your support for domestic violence, wearing something in purple, anything that you can do to bring that awareness. Also, we invite you to share your pictures on social media. That's another way to bring awareness. And finally, I invite you to visit our website, our webpage at ccdv.org to learn more about the collaborative and how to connect with us. Again, on behalf of Judge Diaz and myself as the co-chairs, and on behalf of the entire collaborative, thank you so much for joining us. Please give us your comments. Tell us how we can make this symposium more informative as we start preparations for next year. And thank you again. And also thank you to the team that put all this together, from the city, from Bexar County, and all of our partners. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.